Urgent Dirty Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Atlanta Falcons planning to trade Kirk Cousins during the draft? Why the Falcons will trade Kirk Cousins after first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. A Kirk Cousins trade has been put on ice until draft time. The veteran apparently doesn't want to be Phoenixed again, apparently. This is a new term in the media, so he won't waive his no trade clause until he knows his destination isn't drafting a first-round talent. Honestly, it is a strange move on his part, because a team trading for him isn't going to make him their backup. Not to mention, it isn't like he will find a team that will commit to him for the long run. But I digress. The question we all have, what will the timing of a trade look like? Will it come during or after the draft? Let's take a look. Kirk Cousins could be traded after day one of the 2025 NFL Draft. The reality is that Kirk Cousins can't be picky when selecting a new team. There aren't many openings, which becomes especially true after the conclusion of the draft. At this point, Cousins seems to desire a team that doesn't draft a first-round quarterback. Essentially, this means not the Titans, and whoever takes Shedeur Sanders and maybe Jackson Dart. So once Thursday night ends, Terry Fontenot's phone may start buzzing. In a perfect world, the Falcons want to add a pick to this year's draft. They don't have many picks and still need to fill many holes. That is why a mid-draft trade could happen. It is the best for all parties. The Falcons get extra capital and rid themselves of the spotlight they are under. Kirk Cousins avoids being Penixed and his uncertainty is settled, and the other team fills their need, allowing them to address other positions. That final point is an important one. No team wants to leave the draft without a starting quarterback. They cannot bank on landing Cousins because the Falcons will leverage that. By landing him late Thursday or on Friday, you settle everything down. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Legendary WR announces his retirement. From NFL Own of the NFL's greatest wide receivers of the last decade plus is ready to go fishing. Former Atlanta Falcons star Julio Jones announced on Friday that he is officially retiring from the NFL. Jones made the announcement in a video post to the social media app Squad and called his career an amazing ride. Jones, 36, was one of the true legends of his era. A 7-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro selection, he posted 6 straight seasons of 1,000 yards receiving or more for the Falcons from 2014-15. Jones also led the NFL in receiving yards in 2015 with 1,071, the third most all-time for a single season, and again in 2018 with 1,677. The former Alabama star Jones, who was the number 6 overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, was renowned for his complete skill set as a receiver, possessing elite physical prowess, route running, and catching ability. He helped Atlanta make it to Super Bowl LI in the 2016 season and was at one point the highest-paid wideout in the NFL. Jones was eventually traded by the Falcons to the Tennessee Titans ahead of the 2021 campaign in a cost-cutting move. But he never reached even 500 yards in a single season again, including his subsequent one-off stints with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. After suffering a concussion late in the 2023 season with the Eagles, Jones went unsigned for the entire 2024 NFL campaign. But with 13 seasons played and nearly $150 million in estimated career earnings, Jones is now ready to call it quits and will likely be a first-ballot Hall of Famer once the time comes. One play that perfectly illustrates the Atlanta legend of Julio Jones. One can't pick a single moment from the career of Julio Jones and define the dominance of the former Atlanta receiver. What Julio meant to Atlanta was the chance for a struggling franchise to have a chance to witness greatness. The Falcons are still seeking their first elusive Super Bowl win, but for a moment, the fan base had a player to rally around. A receiver that consistently had an argument as not only the best at his position in the game, but among the best to ever do it at his position. All told, Jones finishes his career as Atlanta's all-time leading receiver and has the 16th most receiving yards in NFL history. If forced to pick a single play that perfectly represented Jones as a teammate and game-changing player, one moment stands out. December 27, 2015, the Atlanta Falcons hosted the 150 Carolina Panthers in the middle of an unstoppable campaign. Cam Newton had an MVP season for the ages and had Carolina only 2 games away from having a chance to make history. Discussions of a perfect season had become very real for a Carolina team that simply looked to potentially be one of the best teams in league history. Atlanta was still working to turn the page under new head coach Dan Quinn, hovering around 500 and clearly a year away from having any real hopes of contention. Still, the Falcons refused to fold, having fully bought into Quinn's philosophy, which we see working so well with a young Washington team. Atlanta played tough defensively and trailed 107 near the end of the third quarter. Facing a 3rd and 13 from their own 30-yard line, the Falcons' offensive line began to break down. Matt Ryan rolled to his left and, as the former Atlanta legend so often did, threw an absolute dime, trusting Julio Jones to make a play in double coverage. The defensive back fell, attempting to keep up with Julio as star linebacker Luke Quetchley undercut Jones, attempting to make a play on the ball. This was the wrong decision, with Jones leaping over the defender to make a picture-perfect catch and turn to sprint into the end zone, giving Atlanta a lead they wouldn't relinquish. In a game that didn't matter for the Falcons, in a spot when Carolina had every reason to have their complete focus on Atlanta's one established weapon, Jones did what he always has: make a play. The down or score didn't matter. Jones was going to give you everything he had in the tank, and then some. The Atlanta legend deserves not only to be a future Hall of Famer, but remains an unquestioned Atlanta legend. New Orleans Saints host Michael Williams for NFL draft visit. The New Orleans Saints reportedly met with former Georgia Bulldogs Michael Williams and Arian Smith over dinner. Former Georgia edge rusher Michael Williams is a projected first-round selection. The former 5-star selection is currently projected to be the 15th overall selection on average, according to the NFL mock draft database. It's a busy time of the year for these prospects. Having just finished up their Combine and Pro Day series of events, now they are traveling across the country to visit with teams that could potentially draft them. NFL draft visits are limited at each organization, making the prospects that they bring in on these visits all that more of a target. The New Orleans Saints reportedly met with both Michael Williams and Arian Smith over dinner, according to Pro Football Rumors. Cambios. The Atlanta Falcons have obviously received quite a bit of flack for not drafting Georgia Bulldogs in recent years, especially considering the success Georgia's seen under head coach Kirby Smart. It's something that Arthur Blank and company obviously took to heart, sending the entire personnel department to Georgia's Pro Day this year. Advertising man, it would be nice, Williams said March 12th at Georgia's Pro Day when asked about potentially playing for the Falcons. It would be a blessing to be back home in the state of Georgia. It would be great to play for the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons free agency best fits. Still available in a low-key offseason for the Falcons, there are still plenty of players in free agency. Of those guys, who would fit the team the best? Last year, the Atlanta Falcons made headlines in free agency by landing big-name players like Kirk Cousins and Justin Simmons. With those big moves in the rear view, few expected the team to stay aggressive in this year's free agency, and so far, they've kept a low profile. But don't count them out just yet. There are still intriguing names on the market who could be perfect fits in Atlanta. Best players still available in free agency for the Falcons' DT Raekwon Davis former team. Indianapolis Colts Raekwon Davis could be a solid rotational player next season. Davis has not had the type of breakout season many fans expected. Coming into the league, a force for Alabama in college, many thought he could be a breakout player. However, Davis has been consistent in the NFL and has not missed many games throughout his professional career. Despite a lack of production, he has still created a solid run-stopping presence on both the Dolphins and for 1 year on the Colts. The loss of Grady Jarrett this offseason could provide a path for players like Raekwon Davis or Marlon Davidson to get more playing time in a pivotal role. Center David Andrews, former team New England Patriots, for a team with so many questions. At the center position, David Andrews makes perfect sense for the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. Andrews started 121 of 124 games played in his career on the New England Patriots. While on the Patriots, the seasoned vet helped the team win 2 Super Bowls. This guy has experience that the Falcons' offensive line could desperately use. As an older player with not many more years expected left to play, the team could potentially get him on a one-year contract for pretty cheap. Being a Georgia native and former Bulldog, this could be a perfect reunion for everyone. FS Jordan Poyer, former Team Miami Dolphins veteran presence in the secondary, could be just what the Falcons need in free agency. Jordan Poyer was among the best secondary players in the league during his time for the Buffalo Bills. After signing with the Dolphins, his production halted. Surprisingly, Poyer hasn't garnered too much attention since becoming a free agent this offseason. Sure, his statistics have fallen off since 2022, but he still has 24 career interceptions. Losing Justin Simmons to free agency will hurt the secondary. Production this next season. A presence like Jordan Poyer could be exactly what this team needs. If the Falcons chose to draft a player like Malachi Starks in the first round, Jordan Poyer could be the perfect player to mentor a young competitor. You are Amari Cooper, former Team Buffalo Bills. This one might cost the Falcons more than a player like David Andrews or Raekwon Davis, but an offer for Amari Cooper would be hard to pass on. Already rumored to be in discussion with the Falcons, Cooper would be a solid fit in a young receiver core. Cooper is a consistent wide receiver who has had 1,000-yard seasons in all but 3 of his 10 years in the NFL. Drake London was the only 1,000-yard receiver for the Falcons last year, with Darnell Mooney coming 8 yards shy. If signed, Cooper could play Z receiver next year with Mooney positioned in the slot. If that happens, this wide receiver core could be a deadly one to watch in 2025. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds news. ATL, rise up.